have found since we've had this unit that it's obviously more effective in terms of trial preparation, but most important, how we handle victims and how we work up a case and what kind of advice we give to victims, even whether we charge or not charge. I mean, in many cases, they may not want to charge, but we've gotten a system where we can kind of really give the best attention and the best direction for cases like this. So that's a really big issue. As far as tracking cases, I don't think we have not, it's not like a bean count, we have not tracked cases to that extent. And one of the reasons is a lot of times, sometimes tracking cases to that extent when you get funding, where you have to justify your actions and your work product and all that stuff, and we're not tied to that directly, so we don't have to do that. So we have just a sense of what we're doing and where we were at before and what we're doing now. So we feel very comfortable with what that this unit has brought to the table. People who we talk to in the system, around the system, as well as victims, appreciate the attention that we now have, as opposed to those who were around in the system knew what we had before that.
Under the Special Victims Unit, we have a dedicated victim witness assistant who is solely assigned to our Special Victims Unit crimes. We did not have that before. So with her assistance, she's able to open a file much more quickly, get it to the deputy prosecutor much more quickly than previously, and also make direct contact with the victims in those cases to find out about her current situation, what resources she might need immediately, advise her of the overall court process, advise her of the defendant's current status, if he's still out on a warrant, if he's in jail, if he's posted bond, and assess what she might need in terms of referrals to St. Jude, for example, if it's in a case of a sexual assault, to Fairhaven, or other ways that we might be able to support her leaving her abusive situation. Madison Marsh is our Special Victims Unit victim witness assistant. Patty and all of the other assistants certainly assist us when we need it, but Madison Marsh is specifically assigned to assist us. She processes whatever paperwork we might need in terms of motions for no contact orders, requesting of medical records, if there's other sorts of evidentiary documents that we might need, additional police reports, criminal histories of the suspect. She'll certainly assist us in making contact with law enforcement to get photographs, videos, other sorts of documents that the police might have that we need to have as part of our discovery obligations. So she's able to work up the file in that sense, make the victim contact so the victim knows what deputy prosecutor is assigned to the case, our contact information, answer those general questions about the overall process, find out the status with the victim and the abuser. Have they already reconciled? If so, and often that happens, they might reconcile before we even get the file, then those are all things that then we need to know so that we can then make the appropriate victim contact and figure out how to proceed with this case, which I think leads to one of your earlier questions of can we prosecute without a victim. But so Madison kind of is the first in line in terms of getting the file once charges are filed. She preps it for us, makes that initial victim contact, and then gives it to us depending on which courtroom it's filed in. There's definitely different aspects that we have to look into. First, primarily, is safety. If it's an incident that just happened, and certainly defer to St. Jude on some of this with their safety planning, in a domestic sort of situation, obviously, first and foremost, before we worry about anything on the legal side of things, we have to make sure that everyone is safe. And typically those are steps that need to be taken before we get the case, because between a police report being filed, further investigated, and charges being filed, that may take it at least a couple of days, and those 48 hours are certainly very crucial to a victim's safety and any other children or pets that might be involved. And certainly that's where we want to work closely with St. Jude and have police work closely with St. Jude, is making sure before we worry about any prosecution, let's make sure everybody's safe. Mm-hmm. We often refer to Haven House for those victims that work in Hammond, but unfortunately Northwest Indiana is quite frankly underserved when it comes to victims' resources. Ryan might know more about that.
Yeah, right now, as far as residential domestic violence shelters, it is ourselves and Haven House in Hammond. I often talk about Lake County, Indiana. We're the second most populated county out of 92 counties across the state. So resources, are limited. So we definitely, that's why relationships like we have with the prosecutor's office are essential in, those wraparound services to ensure that the survivors we serve are getting the best services and safety planning. And like Pam, our legal advocate, is a great resource that some programs don't have. So she helps our survivors safety plan and navigate the legal system and works closely with the prosecutor's office. And just to add one more thing that came up earlier is, the lethality definitely increases when someone leaves their abuser. What also happens, what we've been working on, and Prosecutor Carter and I, shared that panel, challenging the stigma around domestic violence, because not only when, sometimes victims do not want to prosecute because of they're scared for their life and their children. The other end of that is understanding the dynamics that sometimes abusers will go into that honeymoon phase and will make promises that it won't happen again. And victims, when they don't have that education or awareness, will absolutely want to maintain that relationship and not have any separation of the children. So the dynamics are so complex. So grateful to have this opportunity to be here with you.
Yes, absolutely.
Justice.
What does, when you go through safety planning with a survivor, what would that look like?
That could entail a lot of different things. It just depends on their situation. If they need shelter immediately, if they want to flee their home, then that would mean they would come in and we would do an intake with them. They would stay with us. Their confidentiality is of utmost importance. Sometimes they decide to stay, so we will safety plan that way. Do you have somewhere that you can go? Who can you trust to tell, that you're in this situation, so that if you need help or you need to leave the home quickly, you can go. It could be something as simple as having a bag packed at your home in the closet with a little extra money, with your birth certificates and social security cards, because that is a big control piece that abusers use, is taking their identification, taking their birth certificates, because then they can't go to work, they can't do lots of things to be on their own. So it just depends on the situation, but it could be coming to the shelter and living there, or it could be just safety planning out of their own home, or fleeing their home and going to stay with a trusted friend. Anything, it kind of runs the gamut depending on the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Something that's been great, having a relationship with the prosecutor's office, is that lots of times victims fear the process or fear what's going to happen, the unknown. Not a lot of people understand the process. So being able to come with a victim and have Nadia sit for 2 hours and answer every single question that they have, no matter how big or small their concern is, and listen to them and what they want out of it is huge. Because lots of times people don't want to go through the process because of the fear of the unknown. It's intimidating anyway, and then if you don't understand it, it's 100 times more intimidating. So that has been a great piece to kind of helping the survivors through the process. And like Nadia said, understanding that the honeymoon phase is temporary, and you can do this, you can get through this, you have a lot of support, and we work together to try to get them through that and get justice for them.